Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood, as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles, or they're lizards, or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin. I will be hosting you for this show, like always. And as semi kind of sort of consistent, my co-host is actually here today. Her name's Tanya. She is my sister. I don't like her very much, but Tanya, you want to say hi?
Okay, first of all, I'm not here very often because I'm pregnant and tired.
So everybody, my sister is with child, as I stated on the podcast with Paige. My sister did not listen to that because
Not at all.
she would have probably mentioned something. So at the end of it, we talk about my sister being pregnant. She is a 1 week pregnant, and she says she's showing already. And
That's
I don't really
ridiculous.
understand. She has
Who knows
zero
they're
logic
pregnant in
her
1
brain.
week?
What?
Who knows they're pregnant in 1 week? I am
You
16
do.
weeks pregnant.
You were just telling me that you're like, oh, I'm actually showing, and I'm only 1 week pregnant.
I didn't say that, first of all. Second of all, I am 16 weeks pregnant, and I do have a little teeny tiny adorable little bump. And I would
They tell
stand up and
you
show the camera, but kind of like on the floor, and the logistics of me standing up right now would not be very good. So
you know when you find out the sex,
I
the
don't know.
gender.
They said around 20 weeks, which I do have an appointment next week, which would be 17 weeks, but I don't think they plan to do an ultrasound. They're just going to listen to the heartbeat. So we'll get to hear the heartbeat.
Yay! So congratulations on being pregnant. How did you feel?
Tired, like I said. We do the podcast pretty late, so some nights I'm like, yep, I'm going to bed. That's really, but I've been lucky. I haven't had, like, not to make any other ladies who have ever been pregnant jealous or anything, but I haven't had any nausea or vomiting or like food aversions or weird cravings or anything. I've just been really freaking tired, and that pregnancy fatigue is no joke.
Yeah, that's how Alex's pregnancy was with both the kids. She didn't experience nausea or vomiting and either, but she was always tired.
I slept all freaking day, like actually all weekend, both days, Saturday and Sunday. I took a nap, and I felt bad because I was with Sam, and like the weekends are our time to hang out because we don't get to see each other throughout the week.
Right.
And instead of hanging out with him, I fell asleep and took a nap on his couch.
Right.
But he was good about it. He wasn't mad at me, which is always nice. I lucked out
Anyway,
in the
so
baby
today on
daddy
the
department.
podcast, guys, we have Katherine. She is a mother of two boys. She goes by Army Mom 1214 on Instagram if you want to give her a follow. Her oldest son, is a cancer survivor, and her youngest son is a dog attack survivor. She wasn't sure if either one of them were going to survive, especially the dog attack, and she goes through that story and makes me cry. So this is the second time that I've cried on this podcast. I don't think it will be showed. I don't think you can see me crying, so that's a good plus. But anything that has to do with children really is gonna kind of hit home with me. It always has. It has since I was a kid. Time I hear a story about a child, something happening to a child negatively, um, it always resonates with me and kind of breaks my heart. Um, but she
Because
had
kids are so
does,
helpless.
huh?
I think it's just because kids are so helpless. Like,
Yeah,
they don't have as much control over the things that happen to them as an adult would. So,
yeah. So you remember the Unsolved Mysteries, that show,
mhm.
right? I remember. So one of the first instances of this, it was when we were living with Grammy and Grandpa, and when I was like experiencing all the paranormal stuff,
Mhm.
and they had just bought that big ass plasma TV, and they got direct TV for the first time, so you had all these fucking channels that you didn't know what to do with.
Yep.
Anyway, so I was watching Unsolved Mysteries, and it was this couple who were driving down the freeway, and this car pulls up next to them and starts shooting at them, and they had a child in the back seat, and they a bullet hit him and killed the
Oh,
child. The parent survived, um,
wow.
but they said the mom was like, so there was a bullet through his teddy bear. There was a so
Oh,
there was a hole in his teddy bear, so he held up his teddy bear in front of his face, and it went through his teddy bear into his head.
wow. That's super sad.
And I don't know. That's all I know of the story. Um, like I don't know like the true story of it or
Mhm.
whatever, where you could find the story or whatever. But I was like 9 when I saw this, and I literally, as she right when the mother was like, he held up his teddy bear to protect himself, I started crying right there, and I was 9, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so like stuff like that with children always gets to me, and I think it's emphasized even more when since I have children myself now. Um, so yeah. So now Jen made me cry, and now Catherine made me cry.
Well
So,
then.
anyways, so she has a lot of paranormal um, things to talk about. She used to be an investigator. She hasn't investigated since her son was diagnosed with leukemia, which is completely understandable. I wouldn't want to do anything other than something that's with my kid. Um, so, any if you guys want to be on the show, talk about some paranormal shit, you want to talk about weird shit, any kind of weird shit, any and all weird shit.
Literally
Just weird
any and
shit. If you
all,
want to talk
because
about weird shit, we can talk about some weird shit.
this
And I just
episode
said
we
weird
talked
shit
about
like 5 to 20 times. And
this
I'm just
episode
going to
we talked
continue
about
to say
getting
weird shit. And I
arrested for
don't know
things we
why my
didn't do.
sister's even talking right now because I'm talking about weird shit.
I don't even know why I'm here because you never let me talk. Hey, you want to host my podcast with me, but you're not allowed to speak. Fucker.
So if you guys have a story that you want to tell, you want to be featured on the podcast, even if you don't think it's paranormal and you only got like a small story to tell and it's only like 15-20 minutes, that's fine too, because I can always get other people that have short stories as well, and we can combine it into one podcast, one episode. That's totally fine. um, but anyways, like I said, if you want to be featured on the show, please contact me at where the weird ones are at gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, where underscore the weird ones are. You can follow my sister if you'd like at T Sapiel on Instagram. It's TSAPIEL. And we are recording this today on Thursday, and this will be out next Wednesday. So I just want to let everybody know to go follow Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky podcast, as we were featured on that, and that episode aired today. So please give him a follow. He's a good guy, very friendly. Him and I are 100% the same mind, just completely different people. We think the same, and we agree on a lot of aspects regarding paranormal and conspiracies. So, yeah, so go check his show out. You can hear the episode 34 with us, where we talk about all the things that we've experienced. Obviously, I forgot some things that I've experienced, which is going to happen. But I remember I was listening to it today, and I just remember that I had an incident where I was leaving a friend's house, and I thought I saw somebody on a bike in front of me, like driving, either going the direction I was going, and I came to a complete stop, and like there's nobody there, and I was like, what the I could have sworn I just saw somebody in the road. And then there was somebody coming up behind me. I was like, oh, I better go. And I was still looking around, like, to see if like maybe the person went off the road, but I'm pretty sure that was a motherfucking ghost, bruh.
That's weird.
But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I enjoyed it, even though I cried, but she is a veteran, so I appreciate her service, and I hope she and her boys continue to do well. Anyways, stay weird, everybody.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin. This is my sister, Tanya. Tanya, say hi.
Hi.
Today on the podcast, we have Katherine, who used to be an investigator. She had stopped because her son was diagnosed with leukemia, and they went through this whole ordeal, and she just told me the story. And it's pretty inspiring for a 5-year-old kid to go through what he went through. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about some of her investigations that she used to do and whatnot. And she is here with us under the stairs in Harry Potter's bedroom. Katherine, say hi.
Hi.
So what is your favorite movie, Katherine? Your favorite horror movie, I'm sorry. If you have one.
I don't really have a favorite horror movie because I've seen just about every single one. I do like the Jason movies because I actually met Kane Hodder.
No way.
In 2001. I met him, and it was after he got burned. I think he was filming one of his movies, and he got burned. And I think it was the neck and his arms, and I believe it was his chest he got burned. And he was at a horror convention or something up in New Jersey. I don't remember what it was, but it was in October. And they had all types of celebrities there, like they had the original Batgirl, they had Kane Hodder.
Oh wow.
they had one of the guys from the Alien movies. They had the one guy that played on Xena, and he was the one that had the crush on Gabriella. The
Oh, okay.
one. I got to meet him in real life, and he was sweet. I got to meet the Blue Meanie. He was a wrestler. Boss Mahoney. I met a bunch of other people, but yeah, I got to meet Kane Hodder, and he was actually a really nice guy. I mean, I didn't go up to him and ask him about how he got his scars. I'm just not that type of person, you know.
I don't blame you.
But he was really cool. You know, we talked about his movies and movies, they're gonna come out with, with him in and stuff. And he was really cool. And come to find out years later, he actually is a paranormal investigator himself.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. With two other guys. I think the other guy was like a stunt person, and then the other guy was, I think it was RJ something. I think he played Leatherface.
Okay.
And
like he was Leatherface, like he played the character. Okay.
He played the character, and they have their own paranormal team, and they go on investigations and stuff. And I forgot what their team name was, but they went and investigated with the guys from Ghost Adventures in California.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, I didn't know that he was a paranormal investigator, but I kind of figured he would be into something like that because, he's an actor that does horror movies.
Right.
So I was like, hey, cool,
That is pretty cool. I didn't know that either. Did you know that Jack Osborne is a paranormal investigator?
Yeah, I do, because he has a TV show with his mom and dad, which is they rate different recordings.
Yeah.
People post, and he also has Portals to Hell with Katrina Weidman, which I watch. I love that show. He did a show with his sister.
With Kelly.
And, yeah, and he wasn't really as freaked out, but Kelly was really freaked out. Like the places are like, no, I can't be in here. And it's like, I can understand. I mean, if you're hearing something behind you, or if you're touched, or if you're aggressively touched, I would say, okay, I need to walk out and just relax and just kind of let everything out of my system, and then go back in and just continue investigating.
Yeah. So when you were into your investigating, did you what got you into it when you were doing it?
I've had experiences as kids, but it's hard to explain. It's because of my trauma from my childhood that the person that caused my traumas, he would show up as an apparition.
Oh no.
Oh, wow.
Like to taunt me, and it made me always afraid to be alone. And even after I got married and stuff, he would still show himself mainly in the basement area, because that's where I would watch TV. And it was like he would show up as like an apparition, and he would be there for a few seconds and then go, and then I would see him. I would start having full-on anxiety attacks. I would be so scared. And once he disappeared, I ran upstairs and told my husband what happened. And he's like, I think you just need to grab your stuff and just come upstairs and let's just watch TV. And I'm like, that's a good idea. I mean, a lot of the places that I know are haunted, that also got me more into it because I'm a big history buff.
I feel like a lot of us that are into the paranormal and a lot of the investigators and a lot of the like-minded people as us, I feel like are very interested in the history altogether of all around, like just big history buffs. Because I love history myself, and it was my best. It was probably like the only class I passed in high school. So, other than phys ed, but I don't call that a class because.
Excuse me, as somebody with a degree in physical education, I resent that remark.
Oh, okay. That sucks to be you to have gone to get a degree in that.
That's a very real class.
Oh, what? I think you're lying.
Oh, it is.
I
The only
physical
all the core
ability comes to me
classes.
naturally, and I can't hear anything that you're saying because I'm talking, and you're
Okay,
trying to talk over me, and it's very fucking rude.
Okay, well, if you would shut up, maybe somebody else could get a word in edgewise. First of all. Second of all the core classes, math, English, history, PE. PE is the only one that you could really use in real life, if you think about it.
That's true. That's true.
So,
you're not wrong.
So suck it.
I didn't mean it like it wasn't a class. I'm just saying like being physically capable just came naturally to me.
Well, it didn't to me, so I really struggled to get that degree.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I hated gym because every time I went to gym, that's where I dealt with the bullies and the asshole.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I was the girl who was 5 foot tall and 94 pounds, but I was faster than them and I was able to run a lot better than them and I was in way better shape.
Yeah.
And the girls would sit there and say, "Oh, well, you're just fat." And,
At 94 pounds, you were fat?
They called me fat. And of course, that destroyed my self-image, and I became anorexic because of it. But the thing is, like, these girls were just as thin as I was. And it's like, I'm fat, but I was the only one between me and all those girls. I was getting A's in my class. I don't think they were, because a lot of days I was always ready in class, had my stuff out, had my gym stuff ready. Everyone else was just too busy, jabbing their jaws and not wanting to get their gym stuff on. Or girls were, a lot of the girls in there that thought they were hot stuff would wear shorts that would literally like show the bottom of their ass cheek. And I'm like, really? Gym is not about, flaunting your ass cheeks and your boobs, it's, getting
and you're a fucking child. Cut that shit out.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah, so I dealt with bullies in gym class too. Not being myself bullied, but there was a few, like whenever dodgeball would come around, there would be there's always that one kid that would single out like the weaker kid and fucking start pelting him with the ball. And I always stuck up for the bullied. So
yeah, I remember in school when we would play dodgeball and everyone would always like aim for my face. And one time,
what? Everybody?
Yeah. Even
goodness.
Especially the mean ones that were horrible towards me, they would like aim for my face. And one time they aimed for my face and busted my nose. Like, it didn't bust open, but it caused blood to pour down my nose. And the gym teacher saw that. They got in trouble. I got sent to the nurse. The nurse was able to stop the bleeding, but my nose was and face was sore for a good, couple of days after that.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And one time in high school, of course, in gym, one of the boys thought, he was being, hot stuff and being funny, and he threw a basketball at my face.
Oh my God.
And I had braces on at the time, and I believe it was like my freshman, sophomore year, and I still had braces on. I would say within 6 months to a year, I was getting them off. And he threw the basketball in my face and it made my nose bleed. He didn't break my nose, but he busted my lip open on the top and it just poured blood out my nose and my mouth. And my lip just swelled. And I went to the bathroom because the gym teacher saw what happened. So I went and tried to clean up, couldn't stop bleeding. So I had to grab my stuff and go to the nurse's office and get an ice pack, make sure my lip was not completely busted open to where I needed stitches.
Mm-hmm.
But my lip was swollen. They were able to stop the bleeding, but I had to keep an ice pack on for the rest of the day to get the swelling down. And it was just like I loved high school because I had my history classes. I did really well in my classes. I was an AB, mostly A+ student. I was always on the honor roll. I was always being called down to the assistant principal's office, and every time I got called down, I was like, "Oh shit, what did I do right now?" And I'm sitting there, and everyone's like, "Thank you, what you do?" And I'm like grabbing my stuff, and I'm like, and then when I would get down there and get into the office, and I would let the secretary know, "Hey, I just got called down here to Mr. Browning." Now he was a 6'6", almost 7 foot tall guy, big guy, deep voice, would scare the daylights out of you if you was staying one-on-one with him. And he was not the assistant principal you wanted to screw with. So I get sent into his office, and he's the one you fear. He was the one you feared in school. And I put my stuff down, I'm sitting there, and I got my hands crossed, and I'm like fumbling with my fingers, and I'm like, crap, what do I do? I'm probably getting suspended. If my mom gets called, she's probably gonna kill me when I get home because, my mom's the one that expects me to do well in school because, my brother decided to be a screw up, and then he finally straightened up and graduated. And I'm like, I just want to graduate high school so I can just, do something with my life and get away from everyone here.
Yeah.
And he would always ask me, his first thing, he would always ask me after I sat down, he's like, "You know why you're here?" And I'm like, I'm suspended. I'm getting kicked out of school. He goes, "No. I have a piece of paper here that shows that you got positive recommendations from all your teachers." And he would read off what each teacher, put in. I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Well, I want to call your mom." And I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to go well with her because she's the one you don't mess with. I mean, she's got a temper on her." So he goes and calls my mom up, and he goes, "I have your daughter, Katherine Minky, in the office here with me, and I can hear," and he's got her on speaker. And her first words were, "What did she do now?" Because, "Oh, it's nothing bad. She's got positive recommendations from her teachers, and, she's just such an excellent student. She's, honors and this and that, and she's doing so well, and the teachers just love having her in class and this and that." And I'm like, my mom's like, "Oh, great, that's awesome." And I'm like, because he was the assistant principal. My brother went to high school, and he graduated in 88. And he dealt with my brother in high school. And
my brother, your brother graduated in 88?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was the year I was born.
And my sister graduated in 84. And, I guess with my mom dealing with the crap my brother pulled in school, I would get sent down there. She's like, "Don't tell me my daughter's getting herself in trouble and getting herself suspended now," because my brother did. And it was completely the total opposite. I was, positive recommendations, excellent report cards, getting awards and everything like that. And my mom knew it, but it was just the way he would call her and the way he would just, start talking to her. And it made her think, uh-oh, what did she do now? It was never anything bad.
Yeah, that's funny. I can't believe you thought you were gonna be suspended. Oh my God, I'm getting such good grades. I'm gonna get suspended. That's funny to me. But every time I got called down to the office, I was either spoken to or, I mean, usually I didn't get called down to the office to get suspended. But I did get arrested one time when I got called down to the office. That was pretty interesting.
To be honest, about 6 years ago, I wound up getting arrested.
For what?
Okay.
Rizzo, don't even start. Hold on a second. Don't even start with that shit. You've been fine this entire time, and you're gonna start talking shit. I don't want to fucking hear it. So you're gonna sit down on that couch and you're gonna shut the fuck up.
Hey, don't talk to her that way.
Just in here laying down because she has to be near me all the time. But anyways,
She loves you.
I know she does. Anyways, Catherine, go ahead and tell your story.
So I got arrested and charged with child abuse.
What?
Yes. Now I'm going to give you the
Is this for the dog?
For my youngest son, because somehow my son just turned 3 on the 29th of January back in 2017. And we were in town from Tennessee because we moved to Tennessee temporarily because when my son got bit, that was just an ordeal that just really caused a lot of issues. So I'm sitting with him in the living room and we're watching TV. And I tell my youngest son, stay here in the living room. I got to talk to grandma. I got to find out what time we're leaving at for dinner for your birthday. So I go upstairs and ask my mom, what time do you want to go to dinner? What time should we start getting ready and start heading to I think it was Applebee's. And she's like, oh, 5 o'clock, 5:30. Okay, cool. So I quickly go use the restroom, go downstairs back to the living room. He's not there. So I'm thinking, okay, my dad's downstairs. He's watching TV. He went down there to go hang out with his papa, go crawl in his papa lap and, go to sleep or just snuggle with him. So I think nothing of it. Then I'm like, I want to go check on him. He's not there. So I'm like, okay, where is he at? So I'm like, okay, his dad's outside changing the oil to my car. So he's probably out there, talking to his dad. And he wasn't with his dad. He decided to walk over across my neighbor's house across the street and walk across the street to a person's house that had a swing set in the front. Jeez. And next thing you know, cops show up. And my husband comes in and he's already pulled up, after changing oil in my car. And he's just, getting it cleaned up, getting stuff cleaned up. And he starts telling me what they're saying, that the police were called because they found my son. And I'm like, huh? And we go out there and the female cops started interrogating me and being downright ignorant and disrespectful. I have bipolar 1, so it's hard for me to truly express emotions, especially under a stressful situation. So they started antagonizing me and just being abusive towards me, verbally and mentally, because I have a mental illness, and they tried to use that against me. So they tried to turn my husband against me by making him say stuff, which he didn't fall into it. He didn't even tell them what they wanted to hear. And my neighbor comes out and she doesn't understand why the cops are here. And my my husband tells her what's going on. So these female cops, they're just downright just nasty. And I just did not like them one bit. And I kept telling them, bring my son home because I don't like him being there where he's at. I want him home. And she was like, well, we'll bring your son home when we feel like bringing him home. And I'm like, excuse me? And so my husband and I go out to the road, and she's like, well, one of you have to go to jail. And my husband's looking at these cops like, what for? Child abuse. Because you guys let your kid get out. And all the cops that handled this case didn't see this as an arrestable cause or that it was child abuse. This happens every day with parents. You go in the kitchen, you tell your kid to sit down in the living room, they don't listen, and they go out and walk out to the front, or they walk across the street and you don't know it. You know, I mean, you get busy with doing dishes or cooking dinner or something like that. So I'm the one who wound up getting arrested. And right then and there, I started getting emotional and getting scared. I'm shaking. And they put the handcuffs on my husband, my mom, my dad, my neighbor, everyone who knew me was getting pissed off. They were flipping out on these people, like these female cops, like, why? So they put me in the back of the police car, and I'm sitting there like, what is happening? Like, is this for real? And my husband goes up to the male cops, and he's explaining to them, guys, she's got mental health issues and she takes her medications and everything like that. But you guys need to realize you got someone who cannot handle extreme stress. I can handle some stress, but I can't handle extreme stress. And you guys are putting her in an extreme stressful situation. And then the male cop, well, does she take her meds? And my husband's like, yeah, she takes her meds every morning, every afternoon, every night. I'm with her. So I wound up spending about 5 hours in jail before I got bailed out.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
For not even something that you were really doing. I mean,
exactly. And like the whole time I was sitting there, because they have it split up, like one side the men sit on, the other side the females sit on, because you can't have them mixed.
Right.
And the correction officer that I encountered, you know, she was asking like pertinent questions and stuff, and she asked about mental illnesses, and I told her everything I was diagnosed with, and she's like, oh, we have to keep you on suicide watch.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to be put on suicide watch because mental illnesses, you're being put into a situation where there's people in there that you don't know what they did. You don't know if they're violent or it's just a simple something they, you know, like me. So I had to go see their psychiatrist, and he's like, well, I won't be able to have any medicines for you because, you know, on the weekends they don't I guess have like a psychiatrist on watch, and they had someone come in and do like before they left.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there, and they put me on suicide watch, and they had the stupidity to put me in a jail cell.
Jesus Christ.
They could have kept me out in the chair, like out in the open.
Yeah.
Decided to put me in a jail cell, and they had to take my shoelaces out of my shoes because of the suicide watch.
Yeah.
And everything like that. And I'm sitting there like crying. I'm hysterical. I'm shaking. Like I'm panicking. Like I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't be here. I need out of here. I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable. You know, I'm like, I'm just, and I'm pacing. And the whole time that I was sitting in that jail cell, not one correctional officer checked on me. Not one. And they're supposed to, my husband was a correctional officer for, I think, a year or two. He says they're supposed to check on everyone every 30 minutes. I wasn't checked on at all in the time I was in there. And the thing is, if they didn't, because they didn't check on me, they would have never known if I did something.
Right.
You know. So I get bailed out, and my husband, of course, takes me out to eat, and I'm sitting there just shaking, and he just like he bear hugged me, and I was just crying. And he's like, "This is utter bullshit. You should have not been arrested tonight." And the guy that um he paid the bail money to was someone that he worked with. And even the correctional officers there said that that's not an arrestable offense. That happens every day. You can turn your back for 2 seconds and boom, your kid's out the door, and you don't even realize it until you turn around. It's like, where are you at? And you don't realize they go right across the street and they're getting into something. You don't realize it. And, you know, of course, I had to hire a lawyer because I had, court hearings and stuff. And even my lawyer said that's not an arrestable offense. I mean, it happens every single day. Someone's kid gets out and you don't realize it until the cops are called and they're like, "Is this your kid? Where were you?" "Oh, we found him or her across the street and they were playing on a swing set or something like that." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I would say within 6, 7 months, the case was closed. It was dismissed because there was nothing to arrest me on. There was no child abuse. These kids are never neglected. I mean, these kids are fed every day, they're clothed, they're bathed, you name it, they're taken care of. They have everything. And it was just so stupid. And a lot of the people that I've encountered, those two female cops, said the same thing. They're just nasty, they're rude, and they'll find a reason just to arrest someone because they want that quota for the day. And it's like,
right, abuse of power.
Exactly. And of course, I had to deal with social services. I dealt with the one in North Carolina, but I said to the person, "I'm going back to Tennessee." So they sent it to them there. The lady showed up to my house and I answered the door. Of course, my boys follow me everywhere I go. And she came in and, she explained who she was and stuff. I mean, she was really nice, can't complain. She asked me what happened. I told her. And she's like, "That is something to not call social services on. That's not something to arrest someone over. That's stupid bullshit right there." And she dropped the case just like that. It was done. Because I'm closing the case. This is bullshit. So for a while, I mean, that affected me very negatively. It was just like, at that moment, it's like I had some distrust for cops.
Yeah, that would.
I mean, especially female cops. I had a distrust for them. I mean, I'm nice to everyone. I mean, when I was in Tennessee and I had to go to Walmart for something and I would see a cop there and I would always say hi to them and ask them how their day was, and shake their hand and thank them for their service. I know their job is hard, like it's like being in the military, it's hard. You don't know what you're going to deal with.
Right.
And, they're always like, "Well, I better let you go because it looks like you need to do some shopping." I said, "Yeah, I got to get some stuff for my kids." And he goes, "Well, I got to get back to duty and stuff and take care of what I got to take care of." And I would always tell him, "Hey, have a great day and be safe," and I would go on and do what I had to do. And, I'm always mindful and respectful towards people. But if you're going to disrespect me, then you're either gonna not get me to talk to you again, or I will just, say, "Hey, if that's how you feel, then you can go on your merry way. I'm going on mine." So,
So when my son was 3, we lived in this apartment complex. So like the where we did laundry was like this little room somewhere else on the property. So he was in bed, and my ex-wife had got up and was like, "I'm gonna do laundry." I was like, "I'll come with you." And her niece and her niece's boyfriend had slept over because I think they babysat for us the night before so we could have a date night. And so they were sleeping on the floor in the living room, and we went out the door to the laundry room. We come back inside. Her niece and their niece's boyfriend were awake, and they were like getting breakfast or whatever. And I was like, well, it's like 8 o'clock. Braden should be up. And I went to his room, and he wasn't there. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, where's Braden? And they're like, everybody's like, I don't know. I was like, well, he's not in his room. He's not in this house. Where the fuck is he? And I'm like, did you guys not notice a child fucking walk by you in here? And they're like, well, we were sleeping. I was like, you're clearly not asleep right now, because we had to have been out at the laundry room for like 5 to 10 minutes. It wasn't like we spent like a shit ton of time in there. And so I go right the fuck outside, because I'm just like, that's where he was. And I'm looking around, and I'm yelling his name, and he was across the street on the side road. And I start running towards him, and he's just standing there crying in his Scooby-Doo pajamas. And as I come to the road, there's a car coming, and he comes across the road as the car is coming. And so I'm running into the road at the same time, like that could have turned easily into a situation kind of like yours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it didn't. I mean, nobody called the cops on me for that, but I did get arrested for something that I didn't do before. And I had just turned 18. My sister was still a minor in high school, and we were in this apartment, and our downstairs neighbors I don't know what the fuck their problem was, but they always had to say something to one of us about something. And she had left, and the lady, my sister, was leaving for school or work. I think it was like early in the morning, so I think it was school. And she called me. I was still like half asleep, and she's like, "Hey, the lady downstairs just came out and threatened me." I was like, "Fucking A." So I went downstairs, and I knocked on the door, and I was like, "Hey, I would really appreciate it if you guys wouldn't threaten my sister." I was like, "She's a minor." And the guy's like, "I didn't threaten your sister." And then the lady comes to the door and goes, she goes, "I didn't threaten your sister." I go, "Well, she said you did." I was like, "Just leave us alone." I was like, "You guys keep yelling at me that she's not on the lease." I was like, "Her name is on the lease." I was like, "And she's a minor, so leave her the fuck alone." And this lady lost her mind on me for no reason. I don't have any clue what the fuck her problem was, but she was on the phone at the same time, and she's like, "I'm on the phone with the landlord, and she says that your sister's not on the lease, and blah 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 blah." I'm like, who the fuck? What is it your business anyway to begin with? And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna hit him." I was like, "For what?" And she slaps me, and then she punches me, and I fell over this chair that she had on her deck. And I get up, and the guy comes out like he's like wants to fight me. And I was like, "Dude, all I was asking you was to leave my sister alone." And he's like crouching down, like going like this and staring at me. And I just picked up their freaking camping chair. I fucking picked it up, and I slammed it on the ground, and then I turned and I punched a hole through their freaking steel grill, and then I walked away. That was it. And then probably about 20 minutes later, I get a knock on my door, and it's the cops. And they're asking me what happened, and I tell them. I was like, "Look," I was like, "I just asked them not to threaten my sister. My sister's a minor. And they lost their mind on me and hit me."
Yeah.
And he goes, "She hit you?" And I go, "Yeah." I was like, "She slapped me, and then she punched me." I was like, "So I threw the chair, and then I punched the grill." I was like, "And then I walked away." And so he goes, "Okay." So we go downstairs. He takes me with him. and he, so I'm face to face with these fucking people again, and the guy goes, so he says that you slapped and punched him, and she just was like, he goes, how come you didn't tell us that when we got here? And she goes, well, he threw me down the stairs.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, I looked at the cop, and the cop looked at me, and I was just like, what the fuck?
She's
And
Karen. She's a Karen, and her husband was a Kevin.
yeah, well, excuse me, miss, excuse me. I resent that remark.
That's what they say. If you watch the YouTube channels, you know, when Karen's attacking, when Kevin's attacking, I'm like, okay.
I don't like that they use Kevin. I always thought they used it. I would say Dave.
Dave.
Dave or Michael.
Like Michael Myers.
Yeah. So yeah, and then the guy was like, he's like, why don't you grow up? He goes, all you have to do is apologize. And I was like, apologize for what? I was like, and I'm the one that needs to grow up. And then the lady across the street stuck her head out the window and goes, hey, at the cops, and goes, hey, she goes, he didn't touch any either one of them. And the cop goes, you want to write a statement? And she's like, nope. And she shut her window. And the cop turns to me and goes, dude, I'm really sorry, but I have to arrest you. I was like, are you fucking kidding? I was like, you're joking, right? He goes, no. He goes, it's an abuse of a woman.
I don't understand how
I got a domestic violence charge for this.
Did that get dropped though? Like, how did they arrest you with no evidence? She had no marks on her. She couldn't have because you didn't touch her.
Right. So the charge against her was dropped, but when I threw the fucking lawn chair, it hit the guy in the knee. And it was like this little fucking mark on his knee, like this little fucking scrape.
That could have come from anything.
Everything.
That could have come from anything. There was an
ambulance there.
Oh my God.
And all this for this. And
okay, not to mention like this all, okay, so this all started because she did threaten me. I left that day. I think I was actually going to pick up your roommate from court. And I came back and you were in, he had a court date that day. I was going to pick him up, and I came back. Mike, yeah. I came back and you were in the cop car, and the landlord was there.
Was she?
No, not, it was a male, so I assume it was the landlord's husband. I just assumed they were both landlord, but he was there. And
well, the landlord was a woman.
Oh, well, she was bitching at him about the night before because they had called the cops on us the night before because my brother's dog, I took him out, or my boyfriend took him out for a walk, and like they called the cops because the dog was too loud going down the stairs, and like that's what they
I remember when we were moving in, they came up to the upstairs knocking on the door telling me that I was being too loud, and I was like, I'm moving stuff in. I'm moving in. Yeah. I was like, so it's not like it's going to be a nightly occurrence. Yeah. Like I had to adjust where the when they came to the door, I was in the middle of adjusting where the washer and dryer was, so I could get into. I was trying to hook it up, and then I was sliding it into place. Yeah. I heard the knock on the door, and opened the door, and they're like, "It sounds like you're coming through the fucking ceiling." I was like, "Well, I am adjusting my fucking washer and dryer, so." Yeah. I was like, I'm literally moving in right now. I was like, you're gonna have to get over it for the moment.
Yeah, we had a Karen when we were living in Tennessee, and we traveled almost every weekend to North Carolina because my mom and dad were still, of course, older there too. And we would bring the boys there and everything, and I would go see my dogs and everything I had at the time. One is still alive, and she's 13 now. And she's a husky pit. She's gorgeous. And
that sounds gorgeous.
She's got ice blue eyes, and she's got like black like eyeliner, it looks like.
Oh
like
my goodness.
On her eyes, and she is gorgeous. She is such a sweet girl. And this lady, she was actually the president of the HOA for the neighborhood. So I mean, my husband and I kept up with the yard maintenance and everything like that. We kept the house clean. But it was like there was time we would go for like we would cut the grass and then we would leave for like a week and a half to go, spend some time with my mom and dad, because of course being older. And this lady would climb over the fence and have her daughter climb over the fence and snoop her nose in my yard and on my deck and just start snooping her nose into my house and everything like that. And then she would call my landlord saying, "Oh, the grass hasn't been cut and this and that." And my landlord would call me up and I would explain to her that it's none of this lady's business. And I said, we cut the grass before, we straightened everything up. And I said, we're in North Carolina because we're visiting family. And I said, when we come back, I promise you, we will cut the grass. We will do whatever needs to be done. Just tell this lady to mind her own damn business because she needs to, take her nose elsewhere. No one in the neighborhood liked her at all. I mean, she was an uppity bitch. She was an uppity bitch. She was in everyone's business. There was kids across the street and they loved my boys to pieces and they were little. They were 4 and 2 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then my oldest was 4 and a half and my youngest was 3. And my boys, they're older kids, they're like teenagers and going into like the adults, and they would be outside playing basketball and my boys would say, "Can we play basketball too?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, come on over." And I would go outside with the boys and these boys would hand the basketball to them and put them on their shoulders and let them shoot the basketball. And the kids had so much fun. I mean, it made them feel special that, these kids were interacting with them.
Mm-hmm.
The lady just had an issue with it. "Oh, you're making too much noise." "Shut up, lady. We're playing here. My kids are playing. They're having a good time. They're squealing with delight. Leave them alone. They're toddlers."
Right.
Um, and she would sit there and, call my landlord up trying to say that my kids are going in her yard, and my kids don't go outside by themselves. They won't go over there by themselves. If they want to go outside and take a walk, stay around the neighborhood, or if they wanted to play with the kids across the street, I was with them. So was their dad.
Uh-huh.
And we would talk with the other neighbors. And she would just stick her nose and just complain. And it's like, "Oh my Lord, mind your own business. We're having a good time,
Yeah. I don't understand some people that do shit like that. It makes no sense.
I think they have nothing better to do with their life than try to ruin other people's lives or just piss them off to a point that they just lose their cool and say, "Just shut the hell up, mind your damn business, and leave us alone. Go do your own crap. Since your life is so special, why don't you deal with it somewhere else?"
Some people aren't happy unless they're fucking bitching.
Exactly.
Right.
If everybody would just do the things that they need to do and do their own shit and, like you said, mind their own business, then I feel like a lot of things that go on in the world wouldn't be going on.
Mm-hmm.
Or wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like a live and let live kind of person. You know what I mean? Like, I prefer being alone. I even have a hard time. So I've never really realized this about myself until recently. And well, it's not that recent. It was a few years ago when I realized it. But I remember me and my ex-girlfriend, we went trick-or-treating so together we had 4 kids. We had all 4 kids and we were trick-or-treating, and it was like this like hot spot, like the street, and it was packed full of people. And I had my dog with me, and every once in a while I would stop and I would just like hold my dog somewhere excluded away from everybody while the kids went up to a house, and I'd be by myself. I wouldn't even be next to my girlfriend. And she's like, why do you keep like walking away from me? Like, why do you keep like hiding or whatever? You're not even here. You're not even present with us. And I was like, I'm watching the kids. I'm watching them as they go up. I'm watching that and everything. And she's like, yeah, but I don't understand. Why can't you like be a part of this? And I was like, so I have to tell you something. I get uncomfortable in crowds. I was like, I didn't realize how crowded this was going to be. And I get overwhelmed super quick. And
That's me too.
Yeah.
That's me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so even like family get togethers or something, like I can be present with everybody for a little bit, but then I have to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, it gets pretty hard. Like so on my last episode, we talked about my son's birthday party that we did. We went to Cake. I don't know if you heard of them, but
No.
they used to have their show in Las Vegas, and they brought it back to New Hampshire because they're from New Hampshire. So it's in Laconia, New Hampshire. And we were there, and they have like this little shop and this like little bar. You can get beer or snacks or juice and whatever for the kids and stuff. And so you kind of like hang out there and mingle with everybody before they bring you into the theater. And this room was packed. And I'm standing there talking with everybody, and then all of a sudden I just turned around and walked away. And I went outside. And then I come back in, and everybody's like, what the hell? What was that? Where'd you go?
Yeah.
I was like, I went outside. I was like, there's too many people in here. I was like, I can't fucking do it.
Yeah. That's how it was like when I went to like my first ghost hunt, and there was a lot of people there. And I'm just standing there, and it's like, I don't know these people, so I'm already uncomfortable. You know, 'cause I don't know what these people are like. If they're nice people, if they're rude, you know, I don't know. And a lot of times, like with me, is I can sense a person's vibe.
Oh yeah.
Like I can sense a goodness in someone, and I can sense be wary of that person. They seem off,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And
I get
sometimes,
that too.
you know, your finely tuned senses, you know, can tell who's who, and sometimes they're not always accurate in what they sense. You know, you might get that little offish vibe about that person, but you know, sometimes that offish feeling could be accurate, correct, and sometimes it's like, oh, I think it's just, you know, how they come out, but they're not really offish, they're really good people. It's just sometimes it's how people present themselves. Like I might seem the offish vibe at first, but
Yeah.
once you get to know me, you, oh wow, she's really cool. She's really down to earth. She's fun. She's just, you know, really shy, really nervous, and she keeps to herself until she gets to know them or they get to know her. And that's just, you know, and of course the person that was running the ghost hunt, you know, he's all out there, and I wasn't so sure about him, but once, you know, me and him were talking and I got to know him, you know, he wasn't bad. And I got to meet celebrity ghost hunters that are on TV. You know, one of them started on TV, and then they came back he came back on TV with his teammate, two of his teammates, and they competed. And then I think within like a year or two later, they did an episode that aired on TV. It was on Animal Planet. And I guess they liked the it was a Destination America liked them that much that they did 4 seasons with them.
Oh wow.
So they were brought in as guests, you know, to people can break up in groups and investigate with each of them. And you know, after my youngest son's accident, you know, I wrote in one of the groups that I was in that they were in, you know, asking for prayers because it was a really hard, horrible situation with that. And they were like, yeah, we'll pray for him. So once my son got better, we were still under DS's watch, but I was able to actually leave the state, you know, and when they realized who I was, and I said, hey, I was the girl that, I was talking to you guys about my son's accident. I was asking for prayers, and they were like, yeah, how is he? And I'm like, he is doing amazing. He's making a full recovery. He's doing great. I said, your guys' prayers and you getting everyone else to pray has really made a difference with this kid, because he was just like that, just, making progress.
Mm.
And I got to investigate actually a theater.
Oh wow, what theater?
Palace Theater in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Oh wow, that's cool. How was
So
that?
it was fun. I started out, I mean, we all sat in the main auditorium, like where you sit to watch the movie and you have like the big screen. We all started out there, got to do Q&A with the celebrities, the TWC, Tennessee Ray Chasers, Ghost Asylum, Haunted Towns, Haunted Live. That's their TV show. It's awesome show. That's like my favorite show next to Ghost Adventures and the Paranormal show. And, I got to meet them, hug them and everything. And they're all like picking on me. And I just got my sleeve, the part of my sleeve finished. They did the background next door to, or in that same area as the theater. And all the guys are hugging me and just giving me kisses on the forehead and just like make me laugh and stuff. And they knew I was nervous because it's been a long time since I've met celebrities. I'm just really nervous around new people.
Mm-hmm.
And we took pictures and everything like that, and they were joking with me and picking on me and calling me short stuff, and I'm like, ha 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 ha, okay, hillbilly,
Oh,
we're
I haven't heard that before.
And so, everyone gets to do their pictures and autographs and stuff. So I sit down, I'm really excited because I got to meet them and hang out with them, and I got autographs, and I got big hugs from the guys, and they're just being all sweet and lovey-dovey towards me, just making me feel comfortable and feeling welcome.
That's awesome.
And so they do the Q&A. So we break up into our groups, and I started with, I think it was Chris, and we went upstairs to the little upstairs. They have an upstairs where they have a lot of paranormal activity, and we were getting stuff like on the K2 meters and stuff, and the flashlights. We really did get much on the Ovilus. I think the owner, Mr. Roth, was just kind of like, I'll communicate, but I might leave a voice or two here on the recorder, but So we all go downstairs, and we go into our next section, and we go into what would be his office. But he had like the conference table, and then in the back was his office. And I was there with his brother, Brandon. Now, Brandon is younger than him. And we're sitting there, and we're asking questions. And the room really wasn't cold, but I started feeling an extreme freezing temperature like around me.
Oh wow.
And I said something to Brandon, and I said, it's really cold here. And then the two people sitting next to me, like, yeah, dude, it feels really cold. But everywhere else, when we got up, it was warm, like normal room temperature. So we're sitting there, and Brandon didn't have to say anything. He really didn't give much into the room. He wanted us to kind of figure it out for ourselves. All of a sudden, like close to me, I got hit with the smell of cigars. Someone was smoking a cigar in the room, and I asked, is anyone smoking a cigar in the room? And they're like, no. And Brandon's like, why are you smelling cigar? I'm like, yeah, it's really strong smell of a sweet cigar. And then he finally told us, oh, Mr. Roth smoked cigars like crazy. He was really big into smoking them.
Wow.
And then it went away. And he's like, what's up? But I said, the smell went away. And he's like, okay. And then within a couple minutes later, the smell came back. It was like he was standing right there smoking a cigar. Because I smelled it again, but it was sweet smelling. And it was just like, almost like he was walking back and forth, like, you know, when you get to smell a cigar, it was like he was standing right there, like doing something, and he'd walk away and it was gone. It was like he was going back and forth. And it's like, it almost seemed like, even till this day, even though he's been gone since I think the 90s,
Yeah.
he's still working. That theater that he built actually was for his daughter, but his daughter wound up tragically passing away before he completed that theater.
Oh, really? Do you know how she passed?
They never said. They never said how she died. I don't know exactly what her call, but she was young.
Mm-hmm.
She was young. And then he wound up passing away, and then I guess his son got it, and I guess his son let it go to, wreckage, and then someone else bought it, and I think the city of Gallatin actually bought it, and then they actually are trying to renovate it. I actually got it done, but if you renovate a building with known activity, or even if you don't know about the activity,
stirs it up.
It does. It stirs it up, and then you'll start noticing things happening, and like your tools disappearing or something happening, and then it's like, I just set my hammer here, now it's gone, and it's like, if you watch the TV shows, and they will tell you, if you renovate a location, it is definitely going to like wake up whatever's there.
Yep. Happens all the time. That's when Hollywood amplifies that with all their movies, like with with the ghost movies of haunted houses or whatever. It's always they're in the middle of renovating it, they're tearing down a wall or they're redoing a floor or some shit, and then all of a sudden shit starts happening.
I mean, if you were to go to like Gallatin, Tennessee itself, you will actually have the history behind Gallatin. It does have Civil War there.
Oh yeah.
The Union took over, and the captain that was in charge of running the Union, if you were a person that lived there and you're Southern, and he would have his troops come in and interrogate the people, and if the people didn't tell them what he wanted, he would have them killed. And in Gallatin, the downtown square is known as the hanging square, and if you didn't tell him what he wanted to hear, he would have the people hung there. And if you were a Confederate sympathizer, he would have you hung.
Oh way.
He actually, I think the youngest he hung in a person was like a 10-year-old kid.
What? A 10-year-old kid? For what?
Because the kid wouldn't give him information, or the kid was just, he was from the South. He, was a part, the South was considered Confederates, and, they felt he was a Confederate sympathizer, so they hung him, Even honestly, this guy didn't have to have a reason to hang you. He can just hang you, or, take you out of the house and just shoot you right on the spot. He didn't have to have a reason. And, and he wound up getting removed, and I guess with Lincoln, and he knew Lincoln, and he didn't really get into trouble with it.
Wow.
At all.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but Gallatin, like almost the whole square, the Gallatin square, like the downtown area, actually is haunted just about every building in the square has some sort of paranormal activity.
Wow.
And then there's
maybe you're calling these spirits because my screen's going crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was noticing that it's messing like while she was talking, it was like messing up.
It's what's funny is that it's only it's only when it's like I can see you guys, but it's only like you know how you got the little thumbnails on top of everybody. Well, it was only mine that was fucking up, but I could see when Catherine was talking, I could see her fine in the big screen here, and I could see you fine, but I was just like,
But yeah, you should go. You definitely, if you want to learn about history, go to Gallatin, Tennessee. That is, it's gorgeous there. I mean, they have houses there that were actually built there that also have paranormal activity, and I believe one of them is where one of the presidents stayed at, but I don't remember. I mean, it's been a while since I've been there. Another good area to go to if you want like real strong paranormal activity, go to Gettysburg.
I was just gonna ask you that. I hear Gettysburg is a pretty good hot spot. Have you ever been to Gettysburg?
Yeah, I went there like 3.5 years ago with my mom and my oldest son when he was like a year into his treatments.
Yeah.
And my mom just wanted us to do something, and she wanted him to see there, and so did I. And it's like he's almost 7 years old. I don't know how into this is gonna be.
Yeah.
And we get into Gettysburg, and my son's face was like, because when you look at the battlefield, it is so huge and big, you know. And if you see a lot of like YouTube channels of people going to Gettysburg, they have video footage of like in the wood line, like apparitions walking back and forth. And it's like I do get that vibe there. Like you think about over 50,000 men died there, and it was so much bloodshed. I mean, you have to expect that, and it was just like I can sense like just walking by the battlefield. I mean, you couldn't really go onto it,
right,
because of ticks and stuff like that, but it's just like you can just get that feeling like how many people died here.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're intuitive at all with spirits?
Sometimes I feel like I can sense there's something around.
Right, because you've stated that you sense things a lot, so I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I can sense things, I'm not psychic, I'm not a medium. It's just I can a lot of times I can tell with like a vibe, like there's someone in the room. I get that feeling like, okay, there's someone in the room, and I can look back, there's no one there, and it's like, who is in the room? And then I would get up and check and everything like that, and there's no one there, and it's like, okay, maybe, as you hear the spooky senses are tingling.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay.
So you said that you experienced some trauma when you were a kid, and that's when you started like experiencing a lot of things. So I feel like trauma is really like kind of like thins the veil first for someone, because I've experienced some trauma. My sister definitely has, and we've both seen some shit.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to talk about your trauma, but do you, other than what you were seeing that with the guy, that did you experience anything else, or did you only see apparitions of him?
I just saw apparitions, and sometimes I could sense he was there, but I couldn't see him. It's just I can sense, like it was almost like he'd make himself known, whether an apparition or just give me that sense of fear, like just trigger my sense of fear. and I would turn around and he's not there. And it's like, he's doing it to torture me. He's tormenting me and he's trying to make me break down.
Right.
But recently I haven't really seen him. I think he's kind of learning that he's not allowed to show himself to me. He's not allowed to be around me because I have better things to do with my life, like my kids and everything like that. I'm hoping to go to school starting in next year in January, and it's like I got better things to worry about than his nonsense. And I think he's kind of figured, hey, she pretty much is telling me, go away, I'm not welcome. Go to hell where you belong, and
Right. So I assume that he's passed away and that's why you're seeing him.
He's been dead since 99.
Since 99. Okay.
He died in prison. He was in his 70s when he died.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So fuck. And it's again every fucking episode. The last the last investigation that you did before you found out your son was sick. You want to go into that investigation?
I went to the USS North Carolina, and that is, of course, a battleship. Of course, a torpedo hit it during World War II or the Pacific, War in the Pacific. And men were killed. I believe 6 men were killed. 6 to 9 men were killed, and it was in the bottom. The first time I went there, before they even set up the events for us to go, I mean, of course, you had to buy tickets and everything. This was like 2010 was the first time I went there. And I was standing at the doorway because you can walk in, you have to pay your ticket. You can walk in and go wherever you want, except what's blocked off. So I'm standing in front of the room. There's a room that you go down to where the men were killed. So it's hot in that ship that day. So I walk right in front of the opening that leads down to where the torpedo was hit. It was freezing cold, like ice. I was encompassed in ice.
Wow.
And I just had like chills up and down my neck. I had goosebumps on my arm. I was like, ooh. And I walk away and it was hot. Went right back to hot. So I walked back to that spot and it was gone.
What? That's crazy.
That spot, there's no freezing cold spot there. It was hot. Went right back to hot.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there like, wow, that was weird.
Yeah.
And it was just in that one spot and it was right into the entranceway that takes you right to where the torpedo hit. So I've been there on and off, but being in that spot, I mean, it's an on and off thing. Like 1 minute it'd be cold, and then the next time I go visit, it's hot. It's almost like it shows whoever they are feel like showing themselves when they feel like it. When you command them to. You don't command the spirit, you've asked them to show themselves. In 2019 was my last investigation because, that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on my son's care.
Naturally.
Of course, being in the engine room, and I was with a group of people, and all I felt was this fingertips on my face, and I'm going like this, what the hell? And everyone's like, what's wrong? And I said, it feels like someone's just rubbing their fingertips on my face, like either they're doing it because they want to feel my face, or they're trying to aggravate me, and they're like, walk out of the room. And then I walk back in and it stops. But of course they say, hey, leave her alone. Don't be, touching her if she doesn't want to be touched.
Right.
Of course, we encountered a little bit here and there, but it was really nothing major. But we were in the cafeteria part. So we're sitting there, and I was with the guy Chris that is from the TWC, and we had the group of people, and me and my two friends were sitting there, and the one girl had an Ovilus on her phone. So it kept saying different words. And I can't remember exactly what the words were, but it was just something like they were saying, but it wasn't like loud. It was just words popping up. So this guy was walked out into the other part, and because the doorways are tall, high, but they're narrow, like height wise. It would really take me having to have help climbing over it because I'm that short. So this guy's in the other room, and next thing you know, you hear a bang on the wall, like something in the other room banged on the wall so hard. We all heard it and jumped. And next thing you know, the guy that was in the other room, he didn't do it. He ran out of the room and hit his head on the top. And you hear him going side into the doorway at the top. And he's coming in. And we're looking at him. He goes, "That wasn't me. That wasn't me. There was something in there. That wasn't me." And we're sitting there like, what the heck? And then we're laughing at him because he hit his head. But at the same time, we feel bad for the guy because that's metal that he hit his head on. And, and not really much happened, the rest of the night, And by the time I got to the hotel, I was just like, man, that was interesting, especially with that loud bang in the other room. Like, oh, man. I mean, it's one of my favorite locations to go to. Another location I like to go to, and they actually shut it down for a while, but now people bought it and they actually are fixing it up. And you can actually go on investigations there, but you have to pay to do it because they use money to keep up with renovations and to preserve the history of the hospital. It's called Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. It's in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
I've never heard of it.
It's been investigated by a lot of your television investigators. Like the TWC guys have gone there a million times. I mean, that's their go-to spot. And there's a lot of other places, a lot of television investigators have gone to, and that place, I think I encountered the naughty nurse, and I don't think she liked me. I think she was jealous of me because she's more into like the young guys, and she'll flirt with them. And I've heard stories where she'll flirt with you and she'll grab you in the what area. She'll grab your butt. She'll whisper like sweet nothings and sexual stuff in your ears.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And we were sitting in one room, and the next thing you know, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I had a torn rotator cuff, and I didn't even have surgery on that shoulder yet until like 2.5 years later. And it was like pushing on my bad shoulder and inflicting so much pain. And I'm sitting there like crying, and everyone was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Something's on my shoulder and it's pushing my shoulder down, and it's causing excruciating pain." So Brandon got up, and he's the younger brother of Chris, and said, "Come on, let's get out of the room." And when I walked out of the room with him, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, the pain has gone away. Like it's feeling okay now. It's still sore, but it's starting to let up. It's going away." And he goes, "You want to go back in the room?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't want to let this keep me from finishing up the investigation. This is important to me. I mean, I love this place." So I go back in there. Nothing happens. I don't get any more touching. Another place I was at with a group of people the same night, we were sitting in the basement. You have the basement, and then you have the boiler room here. and they have chairs set up. So I'm sitting with my back facing the boiler room, and we're asking questions. And out of nowhere, you hear like that. And it was audible. We all heard it.
Wow.
At each other like, did you say that? Did you say that? We're like, no, no. So the guy that owns the promotion company rewinded the recorder and we heard it. It was picked up on the recorder. And we're like, wow, that's freaking amazing. So we're sitting there and we're still asking questions. The next thing you know, I hear a whistle in my ear. And and my husband's sitting next to me, and I hear a whistle in my ear, and I'm looking at him. I said, "Hun, did you whistle in my ear?" He goes, "No." And I look behind me. There's no one there. There's no one standing behind me. There's nothing. It's just an empty boiler room. And I mean, it was just like, and I asked the group, I said, "Did any of you guys whistle in here?" They're like, "No." And I said, "Someone just whistled in my ear, and it was not you guys or my husband."
What?
So I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, that it was the maintenance guy that worked there, and he committed suicide. He hung himself
Right in the boiler room?
in that hospital, and I think he did it in the boiler room. I believe it was.
Okay.
But he said to the lady that owned the place back then, before he took his life, because he was big into drinking and drugs.
Oh, okay.
And he told her, when I die, I'm not leaving this place.
What?
Because he loved that building. So he took such care of that building that he loved it being there. And you know, and he even brought in a car. He bought a car, like a Beetle. And I guess the crazy thing is he brought the car into the hospital and had it sitting in the hallway in the hospital.
What?
So no one would vandalize the car. And it had no engine. It did not run, but it was sitting there. I was like, okay, cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I was with my friend Porter, and we were sitting on the 3rd floor, and it was the same night of the same ghost hunt. So we're sitting there asking questions and stuff, flashlights going off, K2 meters going off, millimeters going off. And we're sitting there asking questions, and the next thing you know, we hear this loud growl. It was audible. It was that loud. It scared the daylights out of us.
Did it sound like an animal growl, or like a man, or like just like?
I would say almost like a demon type growl.
Oh shit!
And I mean, it was just like, and we're just like, what the heck? And we got up and we just started like walking in the hallway, like, what the hell? Where'd that growl come from? There was no one else in the hallway but us. So one of the girls that was with us, she caught it and she played it back, and we kept playing it back, and it's like, what the heck? Do you think that's like a demon or something? You know? And it was like, wow, that's just insane. I mean, just after hearing that, it's like, should we like protect ourselves now? Like say prayers or something before we leave this place? Because
you're right. Yeah.
I mean, that growl was just scary. I mean, it was just like, what did we just encounter? Like, was it a demon? Was it like a dark entity there? Because with these guys, they said one time that they've seen like a tall, dark shadow figure show itself. And when Zach Bagans did the paranormal challenge in 2011, and someone was doing a daytime shoot, like they were taking pictures, and they actually caught the shadow figure. I mean, it was tall, and you could see the head, the neck, the shoulders, the leg, the arm, when they caught it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I wonder if that's what grounded us. Because a lot of times, if you think of shadow figures, they're dark.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to think maybe malevolent, dark, maybe demonic type. And
Maybe.
that's, and that could have been what growled.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it creeped me out, but then it got me really excited because, like, wow, that's like my first growl I actually captured.
Yeah. So you caught it on like a recording too?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But I don't even know where the recorder is at, because I think the recorder that it was on, I think my oldest son destroyed it.
Oh no.
As my oldest son, when he sees my equipment, and he asks a lot of questions like, Mom, what's this? Mom, what's that? Mom, what's this? And I'm explaining it to him and trying to explain to him how it works. And then he starts, and I tell him, you can't mess with this stuff, because this stuff is not cheap,
Right.
Next thing you know, my mail meter got broken, and it's like, oh, I can't afford a new one for a while. He broke the recorder, and I'm like, really, dude? I'm like, how do you expect me, if I go on another investigation to capture something, if my recorder's, broken?
Boys. They break everything.
I have two of them, so yeah.
Yeah. I have one, and I have a boy and a girl, so.
Oh, wow. I always wanted a daughter, but my husband's like, no, we got two boys, that's enough. I'm like,
sounds like something I'd say. So
I was into like hair, and like if I had a daughter, like when she got older, I would love to just, do makeup and nails with her and get like manicures and pedicures and stuff.
yeah, that's every woman's sub dream, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, my ex-wife wasn't really like a girly girl, so she doesn't do her makeup at all. So she doesn't really, I don't know if she knows much about makeup, but my daughter sees all of her friends and her friends' mothers like do their makeup together or whatever, but her friends have makeup on, and then she, watches TikTok videos, these makeup tutorials, and so she does her makeup. My ex-wife buys her makeup here and there, but
Yeah.
sometimes she'll make like she'll paint faces on herself with like makeup and make herself look silly. It's really fun sometimes. She's an interesting character. She's a little bit too much like me. So
Kevin also likes to do his face up and makeup every once in a while.
no. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying her personality.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to tell everybody that. I'm sorry.
No, that's a secret.
My bad.
And now you just put it out in the world, in the universe.
Well, you can edit it out.
So, Katherine, is there are you finding fulfillment in your current path of life right now?
Oh, yeah. I am going to get back into investigating.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to get into school and get my history and degree, and use that knowledge from my education to help with my investigations, how to research history and kind of use my education and my learning and my knowledge, so when I go back into my investigations, then I can have the knowledge to know, okay, this is how you look up this is how you look up that, and you know.
Awesome. Awesome. And how long has your son been clear from remission?
He rang the bell August 6th of 2021, so it's almost a year and a half.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That makes me so happy. When you first told me about it when we were talking on Instagram, I was like, oh man, I feel so bad. And then you're like, no, he's good, he's fine, he's clear. I was like, oh shit. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Anything like when anything happens to any it doesn't have to be my child, doesn't have to be a child that I even know, but I always like just I feel so deeply for children, and it breaks my heart when things like this happen to them in any aspect of any kind.
When my youngest son got mauled in 2015 and he was 18 months old,
Ugh.
and he died for 10 minutes.
Oh.
And they were able to revive him, but his brain, he pretty much suffered some brain damage from going into cardiac arrest for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When they revived him, they did an emergency tracheostomy, which is where they cut a hole right here and they put a little thing in his neck, and then they attach a machine to it to help him breathe, because he had some damage to his trachea from the dog bite. And he spent pretty much a month and a half in a medically induced coma, and then they slowly let him out, and they put like a hypothermic like vest onto him to help drop his temperature down, to allow his brain, his heart, and all his organs and his face to slowly heal. And when he woke up, and my husband, me, my mom and dad, and our oldest son went to go see him in the hospital, and they took him completely off all the medications that they put him under to let his body heal, and just let him rest. And he was just sitting there playing on the computer in the nurse's lap, and he was just all squeals and giggles. I mean, he had to wear a hospital gown. He had a thing protecting his IB.
Mm-hmm.
He saw me, and he smiled with that big smile, and he squealed, and he got down, and the nurse had to get up with him because he had the IB thing hooked, the saline bag hooked up to him. And he came running up to me and he gave me a big hug and everything. And it was just like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, he's okay. He's walking. He's smiling. He's smiling. He just gave me a hug, and it's after what he just went through. And when I saw that, when he did that, I cried, but then I felt so good, because it's like, wow, this is definitely a turnaround from what he was before a month and a half ago. And I bought a little Bluetooth, a Bluetooth radio, and you Bluetooth your music to it, and you turn it on and it lights up. So I charged it up and I let him mess with it, and he kept setting it down and turning it on. And I would put the music on, and it would light up the whole waiting area with the lights. And he was just like all squeals and laughing. And he kept picking it up and putting it here and putting it there and everything like that. And just seeing him, considering what he looked like before, and then he looked at him then, I mean, his stitches were out and everything, and he was starting to look a lot better. And it felt like a sense of relief that he survived something so horrendous that he died from it. And he just turned 9 on Sunday, and that is a huge milestone for him, for us, because he's still alive to be able to celebrate his birthdays, and to celebrate his 9th was a huge milestone. I mean, he was just so happy, you know, and when he got mauled, we didn't know if he was going to live or die. We just did not know. I mean, when he died for 10 minutes, I found out, I was like, you know, and it's like, why didn't you guys tell me right away? I've been sitting here the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, we're sorry. We had to deal with him first. And it's like, I sat there and cried. And it's like, when he had to be life flighted to a main hospital that handled, had plastic surgery and everything like that. The one thing that made it worse, I mean, the dog bite alone was the worst, you know, and I fought that dog and I got the dog off of him and wrapped my son's face up in a towel and ran out of there and had my neighbor call 911. And I held my son for dear life, you know, and I was praying. And when the ambulance got there, and he was gurgling the whole time because he was pretty much, he had blood and teeth in his back of his throat because of the trauma to his face. I mean, his lip was ripped and he had cut open here and his little cuts everywhere. His mandible was broken, which is this part of the chin. And when they were life flighting him to a bigger hospital, and it was a university hospital, and they had more specialists up there that handled this stuff. And when he was being wheeled to the helicopter, his face was wrapped up. And when I saw that, it was like, is this even my son? Because I didn't recognize him.
Mm.
All I saw was a body and a head wrapped up. And I stood there and cried. And the social worker that works in the hospital, and she held on to me. And I just let it go. Because that was just my child. I didn't recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the hospital, and it was like an hour and a half away, and I stayed up for 72 hours straight. I did not want to go to sleep because I wanted to make sure my son was going to make it and he was going to be okay. And he made it. He survived. I went up there every day with him. You know, I would pray to him. I would pray with him. I would pray to him. I would talk to him. We would play music. We would read little books to him just to let him hear a voice. No, hey, you're okay. And when he finally, you know, before he went to foster care and we saw him and he squealed and smiled and he hugged me, you know, and we just had the time of our life until he had to go to bed. And, you know, it was like, to see that, considering what I saw the first night until then, you know, it was like, wow. And I always say God is good, you know, with him, and also with my oldest, you know, going through what I went through with them and knowing they both made a full recovery and they're doing great. You know, I always thank God every day that he gave them that second chance that I get to have them.
Mm.
You know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You've been through so much. You are the second person that make me cry on this fucking podcast.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would have been mentally strong enough for any of that.
I had to be. I had no
Right.
choice.
I mean, right.
I had to be. I had no choice. I mean, those boys relied on me to be that rock for them.
Yeah.
I mean, when my youngest son got bit, and you know, everyone gave him the nickname Miracle. Because something like that, especially with a kid that age, they don't survive something like that, especially with the trauma to the brain and to the, you know, in the face.
Has he had? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. everyone, calls me the hero because I saved his life. And I'm like, I just did what a mother would normally do, do whatever it takes to to get my child out of that situation, and I fought that dog. And honestly, it got to a point, it's like, that dog lets go of my son. I hope he does. If he bites me and he starts tearing at me, I don't care. I will fight that dog still, and I would throw that dog into the room like I did after my son got bit, and I didn't realize us walking up the stairs that night to go to bed would have been a night that changed our life.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I got bit, I sliced my thumb open, and the nurses were making a big deal out of it. And it's like, I don't give a shit about my thumb, just worry about my son, get him the help he needs. I'll just wash my hands and, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at him now, he's a good looking little kid. He had surgery will be 3 weeks tomorrow, and he's always happy, he's always, loving and sweet, and so is my oldest. Like yesterday, I didn't get home till like 6 o'clock from the doctor's appointment. And of course, my dog runs up to me and that knocks me over, but my boys came running up to me and, ran and jumped in my arms and, Mom, where were you? Mom, we missed you. You were gone too long. I said I was at the doctor's, the doctor appointment took longer than I expected, but, I got things taken care of.
Yeah.
And like things like that is what I'm thankful for, considering what happened to them. To have that is just a blessing alone. For them to run up to you and say, Mom, we missed you. Where you been?
Right. I feel like go experience what you guys have experienced. I feel like that creates even like a stronger bond. Like the bond, is is fairly strong between a parent and their child, but when you experience trauma like that and you get through it together, I feel like that makes it so much stronger. You know what I mean? And they obviously adore you. So just for you to go to the doctors and be like, hey, where the hell have you been? So that's cute.
It would be like, a 30-minute appointment. It turned out to be a 2-hour appointment, and in fact, the place was already closed. There might have been a few nurses there, finishing up the last minute stuff.
Yeah.
They had to knock on the door for the police department because they have police at the VA itself. That's in case, some like our veteran, is having a bad moment, especially if they're having PTSD or something like that and they're having a breakdown. They're there to help diffuse the situation so the nurses and doctors can handle and know how to treat the person. And this doctor spent more time with me. He doesn't handle my hearing loss. That's a totally different field of neurology, but I have cognitive issues.
Yeah.
So he spent 2 hours, dealing with that. So I have to go for blood work tomorrow. And then sometime whenever they do it, I got to get a CT scan done to see what's going on.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on? If you had to guess.
I have a TBI likely.
Yeah.
And it's just been progressing.
Oh, no.
Cognitive issues.
Yeah.
I broke my collarbone back in 96, 97. And when I was living in New Jersey, that's where I'm from. I'm from the North. I'm from Jersey. And my dad built me a swing. And it was a big bench swing. And I was swinging on in the summer. We're getting ready for final exams. And my swing was up in the air and it snapped down on my right side. The chain just snapped and I went down and I hit my shoulder and my head so hard on the ground that I got knocked out. When I came to, I had so much pain in my shoulder area, I couldn't move it. So it was hard to get up off the ground. But when I realized the pain was so bad, I got really upset and I came in the house and told my dad, because it was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
My dad didn't work on Saturdays unless it was like the winter time and he has to pave
Yeah.
or put on ice. And he told me, you need to move your arm or it's going to get stiff. You're not going to have use of it. Really, Dad? That's what you're going to tell me after I told you I hit my collarbone, my shoulder really hard? So he calls my mom up and she had to work that day. I forget what she was doing. So she's just like, let's see how she does tomorrow. And if she's still hurting, because I could have bruised it, they thought,
Right.
go to the hospital. So I had a hard time getting into bed and laying down. I couldn't move at all. So the next morning at 6 o'clock, I woke up. And of course, I struggled to get out of bed and I had to use the restroom. So I go in there, I use the restroom, and I close my eyes because the pain was just so bad. I get up. I blacked out just like that. And I went down and I hit my head and my shoulder on a ceramic tub.
Wow.
And I guess because the pain was so bad, when I got up too fast and I blacked out and just went.
Oh my goodness.
And my mom heard me. She got up. She called my dad into the bathroom and they got me up. She had to get me dressed. And they brought me into the room and said, okay, just go lay down, and just relax. She woke me up at 9 and said, we're going to get you dressed. We're going to the hospital. Coming to find out, I broke my collarbone all the way through except for a hairline piece of bone that was still intact.
God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The doctor feels because of that hitting my head twice as hard as I did, that I caused a TBI, and likely just over the years, it's progressed into some cognitive issues.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It happens,
Yeah. So do you want people to follow your Instagram, or do you not care about that? Yeah, there he is. Is this the oldest?
Yeah, this is the oldest. This is the cancer survivor.
Nice.
Nice.
So do you care about plugging your socials?
Four straps up there. Daniel, stop. My Instagram. Daniel, chill. My Instagram is at ArmyMom1214.
And you're a veteran, correct?
Yes, Army.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Well, guys, that is the show. We'll let Katherine get back to her motherly duties. If you guys want to give her a follow on Instagram, go ahead and do that. But other than that, if you want to get in touch with me on the show, where the weird ones are at gmail.com, or you can follow my Instagram at where_the weird ones are. We like to talk about ghosts and all that nonsense. So, Katherine, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us and sharing your stories.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
You cannot see my body.
Daniel, stop. Thank you.
And it's my favorite. It's my favorite blanket.
That's a nice blanket, bro.
It's
I'm 4'11". This thing, I think, is over 8. Can't fit the tallest man at By the way, the tallest man record is actually 11, but the tallest man that's alive is 8'3", but the real record was almost 9 foot because the guy was 8'11", but he died at age 22 because the blisters on his legs killed him.
Yeah. Well, when you get that high, gravity kind of starts trying to pull you down. And then you get those blisters on your foot because your feet are just like constantly in there. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I might have said that a little dumbly. All right, guys. Stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.